My parents sold my gaming setup without asking, but didn't expect what I'd find in the buyer's messages. I came home to an empty desk, my $4,000 PC gone. I'd spent 3 years building that rig, every component handpicked. RTX 3090, custom water cooling, the works. Paid for with freelance work editing videos for small businesses. My mom was in the kitchen making coffee like nothing happened. "Where's my computer?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "We sold it," she said. "Your sister needed a new wardrobe for college and we didn't have the money." "You what?" "That's mine. I built that." She shrugged. "You live under our roof. We can sell what we need to." I felt my face go hot. "That's not how this works. I use that for work. My freelance clients depend on it. I have 3 projects due this week." She waved me off. "Shh, you're being dramatic. It's just a computer. Use your laptop." That laptop is 7 years old. It can't even run the editing software I need. My dad walked in and sided with her immediately. "Stop making a scene. Your sister's future is more important than your games." "This isn't about games," I said, my voice shaking. "This is my income. How am I supposed to pay my share of groceries now?" "You contribute when you're asked," he said. End of discussion. Meanwhile, my sister walked in wearing a designer jacket that probably cost $800 alone. "Thanks, Mom," she said, twirling around. I couldn't even look at her. I went to my room and stared at the empty corner where my setup used to be. 3 years of saving, gone in one afternoon because my sister wanted to look good at orientation. This wasn't the first time either. When I was 16, they sold my guitar to pay for her dance competition trip. When I was 19, they took money from my savings account without asking to cover her spring break in Cancun. I'd always let it slide, figured that's just how families work. But this was different. This was my livelihood. I opened my old laptop and it took 10 minutes just to boot up. I tried loading my current project and it crashed twice. I was going to miss my deadline and lose a $100 contract. I started digging through my email, found the Craigslist posting my parents had made. Gaming PC, barely used, asking $100 to $200. The buyer had left his number. I messaged him on Facebook. "Hey, I'm the son. This is going to sound crazy, but that computer was mine. My parents sold it without permission. Is there any way we can work something out?" He responded fast. "Wow, man, I had no idea. That's messed up. I feel bad for the situation, but I already set it up at my place." "I understand," I said. "Just needed to know what happened." Then he sent screenshots. "Wait, before you go, you should see what your parents told me." My stomach dropped. They had listed it as our old family computer that we were getting rid of because we upgraded to something better. No mention that it was mine. No mention that I'd built it myself. They sold it for $100, a quarter of what it was worth. But that wasn't even the worst part. The buyer sent one more screenshot. "Your mom messaged me this morning saying if her son contacts you, tell him it broke during shipping and you got a refund. She wanted me to lie to you." I stared at my phone screen. They didn't just sell my computer, they planned the whole thing. They knew I'd look for it. They knew I'd find the buyer and they coached him to cover their tracks. That meant they sold it days ago, maybe even a week, and just waited for the right moment to move it out of my room. I went downstairs shaking. The screenshots pulled up on my phone. I showed my mom the messages. She barely glanced at them. "So what? We were protecting you from getting upset." "Too late for that," I said. "And you were going to have him lie to me? Tell me it broke in shipping?" She crossed her arms. "We did what we thought was best. You would have made a bigger scene if you knew the truth." Unbelievable. I turned to my dad. "You're okay with this?" He sighed deeply. "Look, your sister needed help. We helped her. You can build another computer." I couldn't stay in that house another second. I grabbed my keys. "Where are you going?" my mom asked. "Anywhere but here." My sister spoke up. "Are you coming back tonight? Because I wanted to move some of my stuff into your room. Your closet has better lighting." I turned around slowly. "What?" My mom jumped in. "Well, you're gone so much for work anyway. Your sister could use the extra storage." My dad nodded. "Makes sense. You barely use half your closet." I laughed in disbelief. "So you sold my computer and now you want my room too?" My sister rolled her eyes. "I said some storage, not the whole room." "God, you're so defensive." My mom put her arm around her. "He's being selfish again, honey. Don't let it upset you." My dad stepped toward me. "Give your sister your closet key. You have a spare anyway." I watched my sister hold out her hand expectantly, and my mom was already picking out which of my shelves would go first. I didn't give her anything. I just stared at them for a second, like I was seeing them for the first time. My mom had this satisfied little smile on her face. My dad looked annoyed that I was still standing there, and my sister was examining her nails like this was boring her. "No," I said quietly. My dad's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" I said no. "You don't get to sell my stuff and then take my space too. You don't have a choice," he said, his voice getting louder. "This is our house. We make the decisions. Then I'll leave." The room went dead silent. My mom's smile disappeared. "You don't mean that," she said. "I do. I'll pack my stuff tonight." My sister actually laughed. "Where are you gonna go? You can barely afford groceries." "I'll figure it out." My mom's voice got high and tight, the way it does when she's about to cry. "You're really going to leave your family over a computer? Over being treated like I don't matter, yeah." I went back to my room and started pulling clothes out of my closet. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely fold anything. I heard them talking downstairs, my mom's voice getting shrill, my dad's getting defensive. About 20 minutes later, my sister knocked knocked on my door. You're being ridiculous, you know. I kept packing. Mom's crying now. She thinks you hate her. I turned around. Did you tell her why I'm leaving? Did you mention that she tried to get the buyer to lie to me? My sister shifted uncomfortably. That's not really the point. That's exactly the point. You needed clothes for college, so they sold my work equipment. And instead of apologizing, they're mad at me for being upset about it. I didn't ask them to sell it, she said quietly. But you didn't say no when they gave you the money, did you? She didn't have an answer for that. She just stood there for a second, then left. I spent the next 2 hours packing everything I could fit into 3 duffel bags in a backpack. The whole time, I was texting my friend Kevin, asking if I could crash on his couch for a few days until I found a place. He said yes immediately. When I came back downstairs with my stuff, my mom was sitting on the couch in the dark. She looked up at me with red eyes. You're really doing this? Yeah, I raised you better than this. I didn't say anything. What could I say? That she was the one who taught me not to trust my own family? That she was the one who showed me my stuff was just currency to trade for my sister's happiness? My dad came out of the kitchen. If you walk out that door, don't come crawling back when things get hard. I won't. I left, got in my car and drove to Kevin's apartment. The whole way there, my phone kept buzzing. My mom calling, my dad calling, my sister texting me that I was being dramatic and immature. I turned my phone off. Kevin was waiting for me when I pulled up. He helped me carry my stuff inside without asking a million questions, which I appreciated. He just pointed to the couch, said I could stay as long as I needed, and offered me a beer. We sat there in silence for a while. Then Kevin finally spoke. What happened? I told him everything. The computer, the messages from the buyer, my mom trying to cover it up, my sister wanting my closet, all of it. Kevin shook his head. Oh, that's insane, man. Like, actually insane. I know. So what are you gonna do? I thought about it. The buyer's screenshots were still on my phone. I'm gonna get my computer back. Kevin raised his eyebrows. How? I texted the buyer again. He'd been cool about everything so far. Maybe he'd be willing to help. Hey, I know this is a huge ask, but would you be willing to sell it back to me? I can't pay you all at once, but I can do payments. He responded within minutes. Honestly, man, after seeing those messages from your mom, I feel terrible about this whole thing. Tell you what, I'll sell it back to you for what I paid. $1,200. And yeah, we can do payments if you need. I could have cried. Are you serious? Dead serious. Your parents are messed up for what they did. I don't want to be part of it. Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much. No problem. When do you want to pick it up? I checked my bank account. I had $800 from my last freelance gig. I could give him that now and pay the rest over the next few weeks. I can give you $800 tonight and the rest by the end of the month. Works for me. I'll be up for another hour or so if you want to come now. I looked at Kevin. You mind if I borrow your car? Mine's almost out of gas. He tossed me his keys. Go get your stuff back. The drive to the buyer's place took about 40 minutes. He lived in this nice apartment complex on the other side of town. When I knocked, he opened the door immediately. He was younger than I expected, maybe mid-20s, with a friendly face. He stepped aside to let me in. It's right over there, he said, pointing to my setup in the corner of his living room. I honestly felt bad using it after I found out what happened. I walked over to it. Everything was exactly how I'd left it. The custom cables, the RGB lighting, even the little figurine I'd put on top of the case. I started disconnecting everything while he watched. Your mom really tried to get me to lie to you, he said. That was wild. I've never had someone ask me to do something like that. Yeah, she's something else. I mean, I get parents making decisions for their kids, but this felt different. She seemed almost excited about it when she dropped it off. That hit me harder than I expected. Excited, like she enjoyed doing this to me. I handed him the $800 in cash. Thank you again for this. You didn't have to help me. He waved me off. Nobody should have to deal with that from their own family. Good luck with everything, man. I loaded the PC into Kevin's car carefully, making sure every piece was secure. The whole drive back, I kept checking the rearview mirror to make sure it was okay. When I got to Kevin's apartment, I set everything up in the corner of his living room. It took me about an hour to get it all connected and running. When I finally powered it on and saw my custom boot screen, I felt like I could breathe again. Kevin came over with another beer. You got it back. Yeah, what are your parents gonna say? I don't really care. But I did care, and I knew this wasn't over. The next morning, I woke up to 17 missed calls, all from my mom. There were texts too. Where are you? Your father is very upset. You need to come home so we can talk about this like adults. Your sister is crying. She thinks this is her fault. I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my laptop and started working on the projects I'd been putting off. With my PC back, I could actually meet my deadlines. Around noon, my phone rang again. This time, it was my sister. I answered. What? Mom's freaking out. Where are you? Kevin's. You're staying with Kevin? She sounded genuinely surprised. Yeah, for how long? I don't know. A while. There was a long pause. Look, I know you're mad, but you're making this way bigger than it needs to be. I laughed. I'm making this big? They sold my work equipment without asking. They needed the money for me, for college, and that makes it okay? She sighed. No, but like, you could have been more understanding. It's not like they sold it to be mean. They tried to cover it up. They told the buyer to lie to me if I contacted him. Another pause. They what? Mom messaged him this morning asking him to tell me the computer broke in shipping. My sister didn't say anything for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice was quieter. I didn't know that part. Well, now you do. That's messed up. I waited for her to say more, but she didn't. Is that it? I asked. What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? Fine, I'm sorry. But you leaving like this is just making everything worse. Worse for who? For all of us. Mom's a mess, Dad's pissed, and I feel like this is somehow my fault even though I didn't ask them to sell your stuff. It kind of is your fault, I said. You needed a new wardrobe, so they sold my computer. You wanted my closet, so they tried to give it to you. Everything's about you. That's not fair, isn't it? She hung up. I felt bad for about 5 seconds, then I remembered her standing there with her hand out, expecting me to just give her my closet key like I owed her something. Kevin came home from work that evening and found me still on my computer. You been working all day? Yeah, trying to catch up on everything I missed. You eat anything? I glanced at the clock. It was almost 8 p.m. No, I forgot. He ordered pizza and we ate in silence. Then he said, your family's been calling me. I looked up. What? Your mom called the pizza place asking if I worked there. Someone must have told her we're friends. What did she say? Just asked if I knew where you were. I told her you were safe and left it at that. I rubbed my face. This is so stupid. I'm 22 years old and they're calling around like I'm a missing kid. Maybe they're worried, Kevin offered. If they were worried, they wouldn't have sold my stuff. Fair point. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the buyer's words. She seemed almost excited about it. What kind of parent gets excited about taking their kid's stuff? What kind of parent plans out a lie to cover their tracks? Around 2 a.m., I decided to check Facebook. My mom had posted something. Sometimes you sacrifice everything for your children, and they still don't appreciate it. Praying for patience and understanding. The comments were full of her friends telling her she was a wonderful mother, that kids these days were so ungrateful. I wanted to comment the screenshots, show everyone what she'd actually done, but I didn't. I just turned off my phone and tried to sleep. The next few days were quiet. I worked on my freelance projects, paid Kevin some money for letting me stay, and avoided my family's calls. Then on Friday night, someone knocked on Kevin's door. It was my dad. We need to talk, he said. I don't think we do. He looked tired. His shirt was wrinkled and he hadn't shaved. Can I come in? I looked at Kevin, who shrugged. Your call, man. I stepped outside instead, closing the door behind me. What do you want? Your mother is devastated. You need to come home and apologize. I laughed. Apologize for what? For leaving, for making this whole situation bigger than it needed to be. You sold my computer without asking. You tried to cover it up. And then you wanted to take my closet too. He waved his hand dismissively. That's all just stuff. Family is more important than stuff. Then why did you sell my stuff to buy hers? He didn't have an answer for that. He just stood there, looking uncomfortable. Your sister needed help, he finally said. And I didn't? You're an adult. You can handle yourself. So is she. She's going to college. That's different. How? He got frustrated. Look, I didn't come here to argue. I came to tell you that you need to come home and fix this. There's nothing to fix. You made it pretty clear where I stand in this family. That's not true. Really? Because from where I'm standing, I'm just the kid who pays for groceries sometimes. Everything else goes to her. He pointed his finger at me. Don't you dare make your sister out to be the villain here. She's worked hard for everything she has, with my money and my computer, and probably my closet space by now. His jaw tightened. You know what? I tried. I came here to make peace and you're being a stubborn brat about it. You came here to make me apologize for being upset that you stole from me. We didn't steal anything. It was ours to sell. It was mine. I built it. I paid for it. With money you made living in our house rent-free, I pay for groceries. Every month. That's not rent. I never agreed to pay rent. You never asked me to pay rent. And even if I did owe rent, you don't get to just take my stuff as payment. He shook his head. You've changed. You never used to be this selfish. I used to be a doormat. There's a difference. He stared at me for a long moment, then turned to leave. Your mother was right about you, he said over his shoulder. And what did she say? That you've always been difficult. He left. I stood there on Kevin's porch for a while, trying to process what just happened. My hands were shaking. Kevin opened the door. You okay? Not really. Want to talk about it? I shook my head. I just wanted to forget this whole week had happened, but I knew I couldn't. The next morning, I woke up to more texts from my mom. Your father told me about last night. I'm very disappointed in you. We've given you everything, and this is how you repay us. Fine. If you want to be alone, but don't come crying to us when you need help. I almost laughed. Like I'd ever ask them for help again. I spent the weekend finishing up my freelance projects and looking for apartments I could afford. Most of them were way out of my price range, but I found a few studios that might work if I picked up more clients. On Sunday, Kevin asked me what my plan was. I need to find a place, I said. I can't stay on your couch forever. You're not bothering me, man. Stay as long as you need. I appreciate it, but I need my own space. Plus, you're gonna want your living room back eventually. He nodded. Fair enough. I applied to 3 apartments that day. One of them got back to me by Monday, saying they'd do a credit check and let me know by the end of the week. Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello. Hi, is this the son who owned the gaming PC? I recognized the buyer's voice immediately. Yeah, that's me. Is everything okay? I just wanted to give you a heads up. Your mom called me again. What? Yeah, like an hour ago. She wanted to know if I still had the computer. I told her no, that I sold it. She asked who I sold it to, and I said I didn't feel comfortable sharing that information. I felt my stomach drop. What did she say? She got kind of angry, said it was her property and I had no right to sell it without telling her. I reminded her that she sold it to me, so technically it became mine to do whatever I wanted with. Thank you for not telling her. No problem. But honestly, she sounded really intense. Just thought you should know she's looking for it. I appreciate the warning. After we hung up, I stared at my computer setup in the corner of Kevin's living room. She was looking for it, which meant she probably knew I had it back somehow. I texted the buyer. Did you mention anything about me to her? Like, did she seem to know I might have bought it back? His response came quick. I didn't say anything specific, but she kept asking weird questions like, did someone young buy it from you? And did they mention why they wanted it? I stayed vague, but she might have put two and two together. Great. I looked at Kevin. We might have a problem. He glanced up from his phone. What kind of problem? My mom's trying to track down my computer. How would she even know you have it back? I don't know, but she called the buyer asking about it. Kevin set his phone down. You think she'd come here? I honestly don't know what she'd do at this point. We spent that evening making sure Kevin's door was locked and that my computer was out of sight from the windows. I felt ridiculous, like I was hiding from the cops or something. But I also knew my mom. When she wanted something, she didn't stop until she got it. Around 10 p.m., Kevin's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his expression changed. It's your mom. He showed me his phone. Sure enough, my mom's name was on the screen. Don't answer it, I said. She called 2 more times, then gave up. I need to get out of here, I said. Like, find my own place soon. I can't drag you into this mess. You're not dragging me anywhere, Kevin said. This is insane, and I'm honestly kind of pissed on your behalf. Still, we'll figure it out. Wednesday morning, I got a call from the apartment complex. They approved my application. I could move in on Saturday. I felt this weird mix of relief and terror. I'd be on my own. Actually on my own for the first time in my life. No safety net, no backup plan, but at least it'd be mine. No one could sell my stuff out from under me. I spent the next few days packing up what little I had and buying essentials I'd need for the apartment. An air mattress, some dishes, basic furniture from Facebook Marketplace. Kevin helped me move everything on Saturday. The apartment was tiny. A studio with a bathroom that was basically a closet and a kitchen that was just a stove and mini fridge crammed into one corner. But it had a door that locked and windows that faced a quiet street. It was perfect. I set up my computer first, made sure everything still worked. Then I changed my Wi-Fi password to something my family would never guess and sat down to send out invoices for the projects I'd just finished. Kevin ordered pizza to celebrate my first night in the new place. We sat on the floor eating and watching videos on my computer. You did it, man, he said. Yeah, feels good? Honestly? Yeah, it does. That night, after Kevin left, I sat in my empty apartment and looked around. I had basically nothing. A computer, some clothes, an air mattress. That was it, but it was mine. All of it. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister. Mom's really upset, you know. She keeps crying and saying she failed as a mother. I didn't respond. Another text came through. Dad says you can come back if you apologize. They're willing to forgive you. I typed out a response. Tell them I got my computer back and I'm not coming home. She replied immediately. You what? I bought it back from the guy they sold it to. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, they're going to lose it when they find out. I know. Why did you tell me? Because I wanted you to know before they do. She didn't respond after that. I fell asleep on my air mattress that night feeling lighter than I had in weeks. Sunday morning, I woke up to my phone ringing. My mom, I let it go to voicemail. She left a message. I know you have that computer. I don't know how you got it back, but you need to return it immediately. We sold it for a reason and you had no right to go behind our backs like this. Call me back. I deleted the voicemail without listening to the whole thing. Then I opened my laptop and started looking for more freelance work. If I wanted to keep this apartment, I needed to hustle. Around noon, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and my heart sank. My mom and dad were standing outside. I didn't open it. We know you're in there, my mom called through the door. Open up. I stayed quiet. We just want to talk, my dad said. I sat on my air mattress and waited for them to leave. They knocked for about 10 more minutes. My mom's voice getting higher and more insistent. My dad's getting more frustrated. Finally, I heard my mom say, "Fine, we'll wait out here until you come out." I looked through the peephole again. They were settling in, sitting on the stairs outside my apartment. This was going to be a long day. I texted Kevin. My parents are camped outside my apartment. His response, want me to come over? Me, nah, I'll wait them out. I spent the next 3 hours working on my computer with headphones on, trying to ignore the fact that my parents were literally outside my door. Around 3 p.m., my phone rang. My landlord. Hey, I got a complaint from one of your neighbors. Your parents? Yeah, I said. I'm sorry, I didn't invite them. They're saying you have their property and they want it back. It's my computer. I paid for it. They sold it without permission and I bought it back. There was a pause. Look, I don't want drama in my building. Can you get them to leave? I'm trying. They won't go. I'll call the police if they don't clear out in the next hour. Please do. He hung up. I felt bad putting him in that position, but what else could I do? About 30 minutes later, I heard voices outside. I looked through the peephole and saw a cop talking to my parents. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but my mom was gesturing wildly and my dad kept pointing at my door. The cop knocked. I opened it a crack, keeping the chain on. Hi, he said. I'm Officer Stevens. I need to ask you a few questions. Okay, your parents are saying you have their property. Is that true? No. I have my property that they sold without permission. I bought it back from the person they sold it to. Do you have proof of that? I pulled up the Facebook messages on my phone and showed him. The conversation with the buyer, the screenshots of my mom asking him to lie, the receipt for the $800 I'd paid. The officer read through everything, then nodded. All right, this is clearly your property. Do you want to press charges for theft? I thought about it. Part of me wanted to, but another part of me just wanted this to be over. No, I just want them to leave me alone. Understood. He went back to my parents. I couldn't hear the conversation, but I saw my mom's face go red and my dad's jaw clench. After a few more minutes, the cop came back. "They're leaving," he said. "If they show up again, call us immediately. Thank you." After they left, I sat down on my air mattress and just breathed. My hands were shaking again. Kevin texted, "You okay?" Me. "Cops just kicked my parents out. I'm good." Him. "Holy shit. Want me to bring food?" Me. "Yeah, please." He showed up an hour later with Chinese takeout and we ate while I told him everything that happened. "Your family's actually insane," he said through a mouthful of lo mein. "Yeah, I'm starting to realize that. What are you gonna do if they come back?" "I don't know. Hope they don't." We both knew that wasn't a real plan, but for now, it was all I had. The next few days were quiet. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. I started to think maybe they'd finally gotten the message. Then, Thursday morning, I got an email from my bank. Someone had tried to access my account from an unrecognized device. The attempt was blocked, but it had come from my parents' address. I immediately changed all my passwords and added two-factor authentication to everything. Then I called the bank to make sure no one else was authorized on my account. Turns out, when I was 18, my mom had added herself as a joint account holder without really explaining what that meant. I spent an hour on the phone getting her removed. That evening, my mom called. I didn't answer, but she left another voicemail. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're making a huge mistake. We're your family. We're the only people who will ever truly care about you. When you realize that, it'll be too late. Don't say we didn't warn you." The message made my skin crawl, not because it was threatening, but because it was so calculated, so manipulative. I saved it just in case I needed evidence of harassment later. Friday night, my sister called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Hello?" "Hey," she said quietly. "Can we talk?" "About what?" "About everything." There was something different in her voice. She sounded tired. "Okay." She took a deep breath. "I know you probably don't want to hear this, but Mom and Dad are getting worse." "What do you mean?" "They won't stop talking about you, like it's all they talk about. How you betrayed them, how you're selfish, how they did everything for you and you just threw it back in their faces." I stayed quiet. "And honestly," she continued, "I'm starting to see what you meant. About everything being about me." Yeah, after you left, they started doing the same stuff to me. Not selling my things, but like, they wanted to borrow my car last week, and when I said no because I needed it for work, Dad said the exact same thing he said to you. "We can use what we need to. You live under our roof." I felt a weird mix of vindication and sympathy. "I'm sorry," I said. "Don't be. You tried to tell me and I didn't listen. So what are you gonna do?" "I don't know. I can't afford to move out like you did. I'm still in school. You could always stay with a friend until you figure it out." "Maybe." We talked for a while longer. She apologized for not believing me before, for taking their side without even listening to mine. I told her it was okay, even though part of me was still upset about it. Before we hung up, she said, "They're planning something, by the way." "What do you mean?" "I heard them talking last night. They're going to try to get your computer back somehow. I don't know the details, but just be careful. Thanks for the warning." After we hung up, I looked at my setup in the corner of my tiny apartment. I'd worked so hard to get it back. I wasn't going to let them take it again. I started looking into storage units where I could keep it if I needed to. Somewhere they'd never think to look. Saturday morning, I woke up to someone pounding on my door. Through the peephole, I saw my mom. I didn't open it. "I know you're in there," she called. "We need to talk." I grabbed my phone and texted my landlord. "My mom's here again." He responded immediately. "Calling the cops now." While I waited, my mom kept knocking. "Please," she said. "I just want my son back." Her voice cracked on the last word, and for a second, I almost believed her. Almost opened the door. But then I remembered the screenshots, the lies, the manipulation. I stayed put. The cops arrived 10 minutes later. Same officer as before. "Ma'am, we talked about this," I heard him say through the door. "I need to see my son," she said. "He's asked you to leave him alone. If you come back again, we'll have to arrest you for trespassing." I heard her start crying. Those big, dramatic sobs she did when she wanted sympathy. "My son," she kept saying. "My baby." The officer wasn't buying it. I heard him escort her away, her sobs fading as they walked down the stairs. After they left, I sat on my air mattress and put my head in my hands. This wasn't sustainable. I couldn't keep calling the cops every time she showed up. Eventually, my landlord was going to get sick of it and kick me out. I needed a more permanent solution. That afternoon, I went to the courthouse and filed for a restraining order. I brought printouts of all the messages, the voicemails, the documentation from the police visits. The clerk told me there'd be a hearing in 2 weeks where I'd have to explain why I needed it. I left feeling simultaneously relieved and sick to my stomach. I was getting a restraining order against my own mother, but what choice did I have? Over the next few days, I threw myself into work. I picked up 3 new clients and started building up my savings again. If I was going to make this independence thing work, I needed to be smart about money. My sister texted me updates when she could. Apparently, my mom had taken to her bed after the restraining order was served, claiming I'd broken her heart. My dad was furious, telling everyone who'd listen that I was an ungrateful, spiteful kid. I tried not to care. The hearing was on a Thursday morning. I showed up in my nicest clothes, which was just a button-up shirt and some clean jeans. My mom was there with my dad. She looked smaller somehow, older. When she saw me, her face crumpled. "How could you do this?" she called across the courthouse lobby. I didn't respond, just walked past her into the courtroom. The hearing lasted about 30 minutes. I presented my evidence, explained the situation, My mom cried through most of it. My dad kept trying to interrupt to explain that I was lying. The judge granted me a temporary restraining order. My mom wasn't allowed to contact me or come within 100 feet of my apartment or workplace for the next 6 months. When we left the courtroom, my dad grabbed my arm. "You just destroyed this family," he said. I pulled away. "You did that, all by yourself." The restraining order made a huge difference. No more surprise visits, no more desperate phone calls. I could finally breathe, but it also made everything feel final, like I'd officially cut ties with the people who raised me. I tried not to think about it too much, just focused on work, on paying rent, on building a life that was actually mine. My sister and I talked occasionally. She'd give me updates on what was happening at home, and I'd listen without really knowing what to say. Things were getting worse for her. My parents had started asking for money, saying they needed help with bills. When she pointed out that I used to pay for groceries, they said it wasn't the same because she was family and I was just a tenant. She didn't see the irony in that until I pointed it out. A few weeks after the restraining order was granted, I came home to find a package at my door. No return address, but it was definitely from them. I opened it carefully, half expecting something crazy. Inside was a bunch of old photos, pictures of me as a kid, family vacations, my high school graduation. At the bottom was a note from my mom. "I thought you might want these since you clearly don't want anything else from us. I hope you're happy with your choices." I looked through the photos for a while. There was one of me and my sister at the beach when we were little, both of us covered in sand and grinning at the camera. One of my dad teaching me how to ride a bike. One of my mom helping me with a science project. They looked like such a normal family in these pictures. I put them in a drawer and didn't look at them again for months. Life settled into a routine. I worked, paid my bills, slowly furnished my tiny apartment. I started dating someone I met through a freelance job. Nothing serious, but it was nice to have something normal in my life. My sister called me one night in tears. "They're trying to take my car," she said. "What?" "They keep saying they need it more than me, that I can just take the bus to class." I told them no, and Dad said if I didn't give him the keys, he'd report it stolen. "Is it in your name?" "Yeah." "Then he can't do that. That's literally illegal." She sniffed. "I know, but they don't care. They just keep pushing and pushing. You need to get out of there." "I'm trying. I'm looking at apartments, but everything's so expensive. Do you have any money saved?" "A little. Not much." I did some quick math in my head. I couldn't afford to let her move in with me. My place was barely big enough for one person. But maybe I could help in other ways. "I know a guy who's looking for a roommate," I said. "The rent's cheaper than most places." "You want me to ask?" "Really?" "Yeah, you can't stay there if they're pulling this stuff." She was quiet for a second. "Thank you." I reached out to my friend who was looking for a roommate. He was cool with it, especially after I explained the situation. My sister moved out 2 weeks later. She didn't tell our parents until she was already gone. Just packed up her stuff while they were at work and left a note on the kitchen table. She called me from her new place that night. "They've been calling nonstop," she said. "I blocked their numbers." "Good. This is so weird, being on my own." "I know, but it gets easier." "Does it?" I thought about my tiny apartment, my freelance work, the restraining order I'd had to get against our own mother. "Yeah," I said, "it does." We talked for a while longer about nothing and everything. When we hung up, I felt something shift. Like maybe we were actually going to be okay, both of us. A few months went by. I kept working, kept building my client list. My sister settled into her new place and started to realize how messed up our parents had been. We'd meet for coffee sometimes, and she'd tell me stories about things they'd done that she was only now recognizing as manipulative or controlling. "Remember when Mom used to go through our rooms when we were at school?" she asked one day. "Yeah, I always thought that was normal. Like, that's just what parents did." I shook my head. "Most parents don't do that." She stirred her coffee. "I've been in therapy." Yeah, trying to work through some stuff. "My therapist says what they did to us is called financial abuse." I'd never heard that term before, but it fit. "Makes sense," I said. She looked at me. "I'm sorry I didn't believe you before, when you tried to tell me. It's okay. You weren't ready to see it. I should have been. We both should have been." We sat in silence for a while, watching people walk by outside the coffee shop window. "Do you ever miss them?" she asked. I thought about it honestly. Sometimes, I admitted. Not them as they are, but like the idea of them. Of having parents who actually cared? Yeah, me too. That became our routine. Coffee every couple of weeks, talking about our parents, our lives, everything we were learning about ourselves now that we were out of that house. One day, about 6 months after I'd moved out, I got a text from my mom. It came from a number I didn't recognize, clearly because I'd blocked her. "Your father had a heart attack. He's in the hospital. I thought you'd want to know." I stared at the message for a long time. I texted my sister, "Did you know about Dad?" She responded immediately, "Yeah, I've been at the hospital all day. He's stable. They think he'll be okay." Me, "Why didn't you tell me?" Her, "I didn't know if you'd want to know." I sat with that for a while. Did I want to know? Did I care? The answer was complicated. I cared that my dad was sick. I didn't wish him harm, but I also didn't feel the overwhelming need to rush to the hospital that I thought I might feel. I texted my sister back, "Keep me updated. Let me know if anything changes." Her, "Are you going to visit?" Me, "I don't think so." Her, "I understand." My mom texted again from the unknown number. "I can't believe you won't even come see your own father in the hospital. What kind of person have you become?" I didn't respond. Just blocked that number too. My dad recovered. According to my sister, it was a mild heart attack brought on by stress and poor diet. He'd have to make some lifestyle changes, but he'd be fine. I felt relieved. Despite everything, I didn't want him to die, but I also didn't reach out. The restraining order was set to expire soon. I had to decide whether to renew it or let it lapse. Part of me wanted to let it lapse, to believe that maybe enough time had passed that maybe they'd changed. But I remembered what my sister had said about them not stopping, about how they kept pushing and pushing. I renewed it. When my mom found out, she sent a letter to my apartment. Somehow it got through, probably because it wasn't technically contact if she mailed it. The letter was long, rambling. She talked about how much she'd sacrificed for me, how she'd given up her dreams to raise me, how I was throwing away the best thing I'd ever have. She talked about the computer like it was the center of everything, like selling it had been this noble act of a mother trying to help her daughter succeed, and I was the villain for taking it back. She didn't once acknowledge the lying, the manipulation, the showing up at my apartment after being told to stay away. It was all my fault, according to her. I threw the letter away. Life kept moving forward. I got more clients, saved more money, eventually moved into a slightly bigger apartment, one with a real bedroom and a kitchen that had a full-size stove. My sister and I stayed close. She graduated college, got a job, started dating someone who actually treated her well. We both built lives that were ours, and yeah, sometimes I'd see something that would remind me of my parents. A smell, a song, a random memory, and I'd feel this complicated mix of sadness and anger and relief all at once. But mostly, I just felt free. Free to make my own choices, free to keep the things I worked for, free to exist without constantly wondering what would be taken from me next. My computer was still set up in the corner of my apartment. I'd upgraded some parts over the years, added new components as I could afford them. Sometimes I'd look at it and remember that day I came home to an empty desk. The panic, the anger, the betrayal, but mostly I just used it to work, to create things, to build the life I wanted, and that felt like the best revenge of all. I hadn't talked to my parents in over a year when I got the call from my sister. "You need to come to the house," she said. "Like now. Why? Just trust me, please." I drove there with my stomach in knots. I hadn't been back since the day I left. The house looked the same. My mom's car in the driveway, the garden she'd neglected, the porch where I'd spent so many afternoons avoiding them. My sister was waiting by the door. "They're not home," she said. "They went out of town for the weekend." Then why am I here? She led me inside, up the stairs to my old room. I stopped in the doorway. The room was exactly as I'd left it. My desk in the corner, my bed against the wall, even the posters I'd had up. But it was also completely different. Storage boxes were stacked everywhere. My closet was full of my mom's seasonal decorations. My desk had become a dumping ground for old papers and junk. "It's like you were never here," my sister said quietly. I walked over to my desk and moved some papers aside. Underneath was a framed photo of me and my dad at my 8th grade science fair. I'd won first place and he'd been so proud. The glass was cracked. "Why did you want me to see this?" I asked. "Because I need you to know you made the right choice. Leaving. All of it." I turned to look at her. "Every time I come over," she continued, "they talk about you like you're this villain, like you ruined their lives. But then I come up here and see this, and I realize they've already moved on. They've already erased you." I felt something tight in my chest loosen. "I know," I said. "I just needed you to know it too." We left shortly after. I didn't take anything from the room. Didn't feel the need to. That chapter of my life was over. As I drove away, I looked in the rearview mirror at the house getting smaller behind me. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I just felt done. And that was enough. The months kept passing. I landed a big client that wanted me to work on a long-term project, which meant steady income for the first time since I'd left. I moved again, this time to a one-bedroom apartment in a better part of town. Kevin came over to help me set up, like always. "Look at you," he said, looking around the new place. "Actually having furniture and everything." "I know, right? Remember when you were sleeping on an air mattress in my living room?" I laughed. How could I forget? He grabbed a beer from my fridge. "I'm proud of you, man. Seriously. Thanks for sticking with me through all that. That's what friends do." We ordered pizza and spent the evening watching movies on my computer, which was now set up on a proper desk I'd bought from IKEA. Everything felt stable for the first time in a long time. My sister stopped by the next day with a housewarming gift. It was a small plant in a ceramic pot. "I figured you needed something living in here," she said. "I'm terrible with plants. It's a succulent. You literally can't kill it. Watch me." She laughed and helped me set it on the windowsill. "How are things?" I asked. "Good. Really good, actually. My roommate and I are thinking about getting a bigger place." "That's awesome." "Yeah." She paused. "Mom called me yesterday." I tensed. "What did she want?" "To complain about you mostly. She found out you moved again, and apparently that's proof you're running away from your problems." "I'm running away from her." That's what I said. She didn't appreciate it, I bet. She also asked if I knew where you were living now. I told her no. "Thanks." She nodded. "I'm not doing that anymore. Playing messenger between you two. I'm done." "Good." We talked for a while longer about work and dating and everything except our parents. It felt normal in a way it never had before. After she left, I stood in my new apartment and looked around. I had a couch now, a coffee table, actual curtains on the windows. The plant my sister gave me sat on the windowsill catching afternoon light. My computer was in the corner, same as always. But it wasn't just a computer anymore, it was proof that I'd fought for something and won. That I'd stood up to people who tried to take from me and I'd gotten it back. I sat down at my desk and opened up my current project. I had work to do, deadlines to meet, a life to live, and nobody could sell it out from under me. That night, as I was getting ready for bed, my phone buzzed. buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the better of me. It was a message with a photo attached. The photo showed my old room, but now it was completely empty. Just bare walls and an old carpet. The message said, "Moved all your junk to storage. If you want it, you can pay the storage fees. Otherwise, it'll be auctioned off in 30 days. It was from my mom. I looked at the photo for a long time. Whatever was in that storage unit, I didn't need it. Probably just old yearbooks and childhood toys. I blocked the number and went to bed. The next morning, I got a coffee and sat down to work. My phone rang. My sister. "Did mom send you a weird text last night?" she asked. "Yeah, about storage unit?" She did the same thing to me, except she actually wants me to help pay for it. I laughed. Of course she does. I told her no. She's claiming it's family responsibility. It's not our responsibility to store her junk. That's what I said. We talked for a few more minutes, then hung up. I went back to work, finished a project early, invoiced my client. Normal stuff. The kind of stuff I never thought I'd have when I was sleeping on Kevin's couch, wondering how I'd make rent. A week later, I got an email from a storage company. Apparently, my mom had listed me as an emergency contact, and they were notifying me that the unit would be auctioned if the fees weren't paid. I didn't respond. 30 days later, I got another email saying the contents had been sold to the highest bidder. I wondered for a second what was in there. Then I decided I didn't care. If it had been important, I would have taken it with me when I left. My sister called that same day. "She's losing it," she said. "The storage stuff sold, and she's claiming you're responsible for all her lost memories. They were my memories. If she wanted to keep them, she shouldn't have put them in storage and not paid the bill." I told her the same thing. She didn't take it well. I could hear the exhaustion in my sister's voice. She was dealing with the fallout of my choices, even though they were the right choices. "You can block her too, you know," I said gently. "I know, I'm getting there." We hung up and I went about my day. Did laundry, grocery, shopping, normal weekend stuff. But the whole time, I kept thinking about that storage unit, about what might have been in there. Old photos, school projects, maybe that trophy from my science fair. Part of me wondered if I should have cared more. But mostly I just felt relieved that it was over. That chapter, that stuff, that whole part of my life, gone. And I was okay with that. Better than okay, actually. The following week, I was working on a project when my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. A delivery guy with a package. I opened the door and signed for it. The return address was the storage company. Confused, I opened it. Inside was a single framed photo. Me and my sister as kids building a sandcastle at the beach. We were both laughing, covered in sand, completely happy. There was a note from the person who'd won the auction. "Found this in a box of junk I bought. Saw the name on the back matched the emergency contact on the storage unit. Figured you might want it more than me." I stared at the photo for a long time. My sister and I looked so young, so innocent. Before we knew what our parents were really like, before the manipulation and the taking and the erasure, I put the photo on my bookshelf next to the succulent she'd given me. It was the only thing I kept from my old life. And it was enough. Time kept moving. I kept working, kept building my business, picked up more clients, started making enough money to actually save some. My sister and I met for coffee every other week like clockwork. We'd talk about work, relationships, our lives. We rarely talked about our parents anymore. There wasn't much to say. One day, about 2 years after I'd moved out, my sister showed up at my apartment unannounced. "I need to tell you something," she said. "Okay, they've been asking about you." I felt my stomach drop. What kind of asking? Like where you live, where you work, if you're dating anyone. Normal parent questions, except they're asking me instead of you. "What did you tell them?" "Nothing. But I wanted you to know they're trying to find ways back in." I nodded. "Thanks for the heads up." She looked around my apartment. "You've really built something here. I tried." "No, I mean it. You got out and you actually made it work. I'm proud of you." Coming from her, that meant something. After she left, I thought about what she'd said. They were asking about me, trying to find ways back in, but they couldn't. I'd built walls they couldn't cross, a life they couldn't touch, and I planned to keep it that way. That night, I sat at my computer and looked at my bank account. I had enough saved now to buy a better desk, maybe upgrade my graphics card, or I could just keep saving. Build up a real emergency fund, the kind that meant I'd never have to ask anyone for help. I chose the second option, because the thing about independence is that it's not just about leaving, it's about staying gone, about building something so solid that you never have to go back. And I was determined to never go back. The next few months were quiet. Work was good. My apartment felt like home. My sister was thriving in her own place. Then one day I got a Facebook message from my mom. She'd created a new account just to contact me. The message was long, rambling, full of the same old excuses and guilt trips. But at the end, she said something that stuck with me. "One day you'll have kids of your own, and you'll understand what it's like to sacrifice everything for them. And I hope they treat you better than you've treated us." I read it twice, then blocked the account. But her words stayed with me. Would I be like them if I had kids? Would I take their stuff to pay for my other kids' wants? Would I manipulate and lie and act like the victim when they called me out? The answer came to me immediately. No, because I'd seen what that looked like. I'd lived through it, and I knew exactly what kind of parent I never wanted to be. I texted my sister. "Mom found me on Facebook." Her response was instant. "Yeah, she did the same thing to me last week." I blocked her. Me. Same. Her. Good. And that was that. Life went on. I turned 25, then 26. My freelance business grew enough that I could afford to hire a part-time assistant. My sister got engaged to someone who treated her like she mattered. We both kept building lives that were ours. One afternoon, I was at a coffee shop working when I saw them. My parents. They were sitting sitting at a table near the window, sharing a sandwich, looking older than I remembered. My mom's hair had more gray in it. My dad had gained weight. They looked like any other middle-aged couple having lunch. They didn't see me. I watched them for a minute, feeling nothing. No anger, no sadness, no urge to walk over and say something. Just nothing. I packed up my laptop and left through the side door. Later that day, I told my sister about it. "How did you feel?" she asked. "Nothing. I felt nothing." She was quiet for a second. "Yeah, I get that. Is that bad?" "No, I think that's healing." Maybe she was right. That night, I sat in my apartment and thought about everything that had happened. The computer being sold, getting it back, moving out, the restraining order, the storage unit, all of it. It felt like a lifetime ago. I looked at my setup in the corner. I'd upgraded almost every part at this point. The only original piece left was the case, but it didn't matter. It was still mine, every piece of it, and nobody could take it away. I sat down and started working on a new project. The deadline wasn't for another week, but I wanted to get ahead. My phone buzzed. A text from Kevin. "Beer later?" I smiled and typed back, "Yeah, I'll buy." Because I could afford to now. Because I'd built something real. Because I'd gotten out and stayed out and made it work. Life wasn't perfect. I still had bad days, still worried about money sometimes. Still felt that weird emptiness that came with cutting off your family, but it was my life. And that made all the difference. The months turned into years. I kept working, kept growing my business. My sister got married and I was her maid of honor. She didn't invite our parents. They sent cards anyway. We threw them away without opening them. Kevin got a girlfriend who I actually liked. We'd all hang out sometimes, just normal friend stuff. I dated a few people, nothing serious, until I met someone who got it, who understood why I didn't talk to my parents, who didn't try to push me to make amends or forgive them for my own sake. Someone who just let me be. One day, about 3 years after I'd left, I got a notification that someone had tagged me in a Facebook post. It was my aunt, the one who'd lectured me about being grateful when this whole thing started. The post was a rant about ungrateful children and how family should always come first. She didn't mention me by name, but it was obvious who she was talking about. I untagged myself and blocked her too. My sister called immediately. "Did you see what Aunt Janet posted?" "Yeah, I blocked her." "Good. I did too. These people are exhausting." We laughed about it, but there was something sad underneath. How many people had believed my parents' version of events? How many thought I was the villain in this story? But then I realized I didn't care. The people who mattered knew the truth. Everyone else could think whatever they wanted. I had my life, they had theirs, and that was fine. Work got busier. I started landing corporate clients, bigger projects with bigger paychecks. I moved again, this time to a 2-bedroom apartment so I could have an actual office. Setting up my computer in a dedicated workspace felt surreal. I'd come so far from that first night on Kevin's couch, wondering how I'd make it. My sister came over to see the new place. "This is amazing," she said, looking around. "Thanks. I worked hard for it." "I know you did." She paused in the doorway of my office, looking at my setup. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't fought to get it back?" I thought about it. Yeah, sometimes. And I probably would have given up. On freelancing, on independence, on everything. I would have thought they were right that I couldn't make it on my own. But you did make it. Yeah, I did. She smiled. "I'm glad you fought for it." Me too. We ordered takeout and spent the evening talking about everything and nothing. About her marriage, my business, the future. At no point did we mention our parents. They weren't part of our story anymore. And that was exactly how it should be. Later that night, alone in my new apartment, I sat at my desk and looked at my computer. The case was the only original part left, but I'd kept it anyway. It reminded me of where I'd started, of what I'd fought for, of the moment I decided I was worth more than they thought I was. I powered it on and started working on a new project. Outside, the city hummed with life. People living their lives, fighting their battles, building their futures. And I was one of them now. Just another person making it work. One day at a time. That was enough. That was everything. 4 years after leaving, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello? Hey, it's Dad." My blood went cold. "How did you get this number?" "Your sister gave it to me." "She didn't. I knew she wouldn't." "Fine. I found it. Look, I'm calling because your mother's in the hospital." I waited for him to continue. "She had a stroke. It's serious. The doctors aren't sure if she's going to make it." I felt something twist in my chest, but I couldn't tell if it was concern or just old habit. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're her son. You should be here." "I haven't been her son in 4 years." He went quiet. Then, "She's asking for you." "I seriously doubt that. She is. She keeps saying your name." Part of me wanted to hang up, to let this be their problem, not mine. But another part of me, the part that remembered being a kid and believing they loved me, couldn't quite let go. "Which hospital?" he told me. Then, "You'll come?" "I'll think about it." I hung up. I sat in my apartment for a long time, staring at my phone. My mom was in the hospital, possibly dying, asking for me, and I didn't know if I cared. I called my sister. "Did you hear?" "Yeah, Dad called me too." She paused. "I'm not going." "You're not?" "No." She made her choices. I made mine. If she wanted me there, she should have treated me better when she had the chance. I felt relief wash over me. I wasn't crazy for not wanting to go. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know. Whatever you decide, I support you." After we hung up, I thought about it for the rest of the day. By evening, I'd made my decision. I wasn't going. My mom had 4 years to reach out, to apologize, to try to make things right. Instead, she'd harassed me, tried to take my stuff, turned family members against me. If she wanted me there now, it was too late. I texted my dad. "I'm not coming. I wish her well, but I'm not coming." His response was immediate and angry, a long paragraph about how selfish I was, how I'd regret this, how I was choosing to let my mother die alone. I blocked the number. My mom didn't die. According to my sister, who heard it from an aunt, she recovered enough to go home but needed physical therapy and help with daily tasks. My dad was handling it, apparently, with help from neighbors and other family members, not from us. My sister and I met for coffee a week later. "How do you feel about not going?" she asked. "Okay, actually, you?" "Same." I thought I'd feel guilty, but I just don't. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. "Do you think we're bad people?" I asked. She thought about it. "No, I think we're people who protected themselves from bad people. There's a difference." I nodded. "Yeah, I think so too." Life went on. My business kept growing. I started thinking about hiring full-time help, maybe even renting an office. Space. My sister had her first kid, a little girl. I was there when she was born, holding her in the hospital while my sister slept. Looking at this tiny person, I thought about my mom's words, about how one day I'd understand what it meant to sacrifice for a child. But I already understood. Real sacrifice isn't taking from one kid to give to another. It's not manipulating or lying or making yourself the victim. Real sacrifice is putting their needs first without making them feel guilty about it. I hoped my sister would be that kind of parent. I thought she would be. And if I ever had kids, I knew I would be too. Because I'd seen the alternative, I'd lived through it, and I knew exactly what kind of damage it did. My niece was 6 months old when my dad showed up at my office. I don't know how he found me. I'd never told him where I worked, but there he was, standing in the lobby when I came back from lunch. "We need to talk," he said. "No, we don't." I tried to walk past him, but he grabbed my arm. "Your mother needs help. Physical therapy, doctor's appointments, someone to cook and clean. I can't do it all myself. That sounds hard. We need you." I pulled my arm away. "No, you don't. You need someone to take care of her because you don't want to. That's not the same thing. You're her son. I was her son." Past tense. His face went red. "After everything we did for you? You mean after everything you took from me? We gave you a home. I paid for groceries, I contributed, and you sold my stuff anyway, that again. You're still hung up on that damn computer." It wasn't about the computer, it was about the lying, the manipulation, the complete disregard for me as a person. He didn't have a response to that. "I need to get back to work," I said. "Don't come here again." I walked past him to the elevator. He didn't follow. Later, I got an email from building security asking if I wanted to ban someone from the premises. I gave them my dad's description and name. They said they'd make sure he didn't get in again. I told my sister what happened. "He showed up at my work too," she said. "I threatened to call the cops." "What did he say?" "Same thing. Mom needs help. We're terrible kids. Blah, blah, blah." "Are you okay?" "Yeah, just tired of this. Me too." We both were. The next few months were more the same. My parents trying different ways to contact us blocking them at every turn. They tried social media, email, even sending letters through other family members. We ignored all of it. Eventually, they seemed to give up, or maybe they just ran out of ways to reach us. Either way, the messages stopped. My business hit a milestone. I landed my biggest client yet, a year-long contract that would pay more than I'd made in the previous 2 years combined. I celebrated by buying a new desk setup, the kind I'd always wanted. Motorized standing desk, dual monitors, the works. Setting it up in my office, I thought about that first computer, the one they'd sold, the one I'd fought to get back. It had started all of this. The leaving, the independence, the life I'd built. A week later, my sister texted me a photo. Their parents had moved a bunch of storage boxes into my old room within days of me leaving. The message just said, "They're already acting like you were never here." Mom asked me yesterday how long the spare room has been empty. I didn't correct her. Make sure to click on the screen to watch other stories.